Hello everybody, how are you doing? This video is a little bit earlier than usual because my computer's going to be away for a few days, so I wanted to get this done before in fact I'm having it replaced. Freebie from a friend, isn't that kind? So I'm doing this now before the weekend, so in case it takes longer then I haven't got to worry. That should take a lot of doing. Anyway, I've seen I'm in red today. I've had the last few videos in blues. I must be feeling a bit blue, so I put the red on today to cheer myself up. It's a fantastic day, isn't it? So this video, I've decided that it just seemed that the last two weren't terribly successful, and I worked out that maybe you like the psychic stories best. Not that I know an awful lot, but I have got a very interesting one today. Now I live in Lincolnshire, and there are lots of airfields out here because it's very, very flat, and of course the Lancasters and Spitfires, it was a well-known area. We've got Petwood Hotel where the Spitfire squadron was, and Lancasters used to take off. There's only two left in the world now, I think, and so it's an airfield place, lots of pilots, and this Petwood Hotel's got a lovely atmosphere because you can feel them all standing around in the bar there. There's a bar that's still there where they used to go, smoking their cigarettes and having a chat and a drink. So yeah, I love it. It's very romantic. So this story is about well, it's about Spitfire pilots really, not living ones, but one very foggy, damp February day, I decided to drive out. Well, at least my friend and I had an elderly friend who was very fond of the Air Force, and I had an uncle that was a Spitfire pilot. So for some reason, we decided to drive out to Kirkby airfield. It's quite a big airfield that was used during the last war for landings in Lancasters especially. In fact, there is one there still, and they have lovely days where you hear the engines roaring and taking off. So this is a story about how I rescued pilots. It's really very strange. There's a big hangar just as you drive into the gates. There's a huge hangar that has housed all the stuff to do with the Air Force and Spitfires and so forth. But it's a very sad thing. I never really like it in there very much because there's all these sort of melted engines. There's about half a dozen of them, just a massive melted iron, and obviously they've been picked up from aircraft that's crashed, and obviously the pilots haven't survived. And this is how many years ago now? Gosh, 50 years ago? Was it? No, 70 years ago. 1941. Yeah, 30, 40 years ago. Anyway, so as we got there, this a strange day. As we got there, foggy, horrible February day, not a day for a day out really. A funeral procession draws up and goes towards the main gates to the actual airfield. Flowers on the top, people dressed in black and so forth. I thought, this is very odd. It's chosen. We got there at the same time. So we were joining in the procession. So we had to park a little way away, and we parked by the hangars where these engines, all these mangled engines were. And I said to my friend, I said, I've just got to get out of the car and do something. It seemed like a very appropriate time, so I got out of the car and went to the building, these big gates, because it's an old aircraft hangar really, and where these engines were, and just stood there for a little while, and I had the feeling of a presence, lots of presence of different pilots, and I think I'd gone probably to rescue them and to help them to move on quite a long time ago. No, it's a long time ago. What am I thinking? That's my age. I'm thinking I've just lost it today. I can tell you, it's been a very strange day, but it was during the World War Two, World War Two, and so it's a long time ago. Yeah, 70 years ago, isn't it? Anyway, I stood there for a while and I dampened the fog, and then eventually went back to the car. And this friend of mine, I didn't realise that he was psychic, but he obviously is. And I said, did you feel anything? He said yes. He said they've all come, about half a dozen of them apparently, to say thank you. Um, because they were stuck with their engines. And so in my very small way, I helped them to move on. And I did feel a little sort of tickle on my cheek, and my friend said that's Flight.Lt Davies. He got their names. I've often wondered whether I should write to somebody about that. It's probably too long ago, but somebody would like to know that someone in their family, whatever, was sent on safely, and that's kind of reassuring, isn't it? I know, in a way, that nothing is ever. This is all those years ago. They were still stuck, waiting to be gone somewhere. and even now, I go to the Petwood Hotel at the minute is all closed down, of course, because nothing's open. But when it was open, especially at Christmas time, I would go and sit in the bar and have quite a chat to these chaps. They would come in, quite a few of them, wanting to be sent to their families or whatever, and I had a lovely time with them. Just sort of having a chat and sitting with them, and there was German pilots as well, of course. It wasn't just English pilots. They got to know that I was the one they could go to find their way home. And in fact, I used to have classes when they used to come and sit with their notebooks and pencils, and I would teach them about the psychic world a little bit according to my own experiences. And I haven't done that for a while because I don't know, I just, you go through these phases of doing these things. So, but it was really interesting that they were there and pleased to be helped on, really. So I think that's probably a very short video for just keep you going, keep me going. Yeah, about the pilots. Because my Uncle Cyril, he died, he was taking off actually, he crashed into a tree. How old was he? 21, 22. So little ending of that. I went to Switzerland some years ago on my own, one of my travels, and as I was going over in the airplane, it began to sort of do this, the uneasy feeling, isn't it, when it does that sort of thing? And I was a bit panicky, my first time flying on my own, and I just thought, what on earth's happening? And still, I didn't know it was him at the time. He said, it's just the altitude. And I realised then that was, quite a small plane, I think, but the altitude was affecting the turbulence. And apparently when I got back, my mum told me that Uncle Cyril had gone to Switzerland that very same date, which is my birthday, in April, many, many years ago. So that's another connection. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking, the bright sunlight, my mind went travelling back to these pilots and how difficult it must have been for them all, with the sun shining, and some of them were so young. And I loved that film, The Battle of Britain. I mean, one of my favourite films, that these chaps did so much for us, really. So I was pleased to be able to help, that they did actually find their way home eventually. Nice story, isn't it? Only 8 minutes today, so you haven't got much to go through. Anyway, I think that's all. I don't think I've left anything off of it. I did wonder what the funeral procession was about, whether it was a general, just as a commemoration day maybe for the whole Air Force, I don't know. But it was strange that I got there at the same time. Anyway, there we go. Oh yes, I must tell you, if any of you have ever seen the Lancaster, huge airplane, 4 engines. I love aircraft. I love anything to do with the Air Force. And they had a day out, a special day 2 or 3 years ago, and I went on my own. I was fortunate enough to get right close to the railings, and there was this huge Lancaster revving up. The sound is quite incredible. It's actually quite emotional to hear an engine, a pilot's air Spitfires are the same, to hear the roaring of this engine that had obviously been over to the bridge of, is it the bridges, these reservoirs? That's right, all the reservoirs in Germany. That's a Battle of Britain story. And it was right up close to it, and all its propellers were going and it was roaring up. It was a very emotional feeling. So that's something else. If ever you're over in England and want to go to Lincolnshire to see where the Lancaster is, it's a good day out. Okay, dear ones, I'm off now then, 9 minutes. I suppose you've had enough. You take care of yourselves, and hope you're all coping with this. It's actually getting to me quite a bit. I do feel very nervous today because the supermarkets, I don't know about you, but people are becoming quite rude. I mean, they were in a panic, I think, and I'm very sensitive, as you probably know, and I came home quite dejected today. So this is why I'm doing the video, to cheer myself up, put the red on, cheer you up. But do take care, dear ones, and let me know if you enjoyed the video, perhaps. You take care. God bless. Bye bye.